Erin, am I good to go?
You are good to go.
Awesome. Hey, you guys. Good evening. My name is Shivani, and I am a second-year finance and econ major. Welcome to Drexel's very first climate case competition. We are beyond thrilled to have you guys here and share this event with you guys, as it is our first climate case competition that we're having. Okay, so I know this is kind of weird with everything being on Zoom. So I'm when it comes to participation and stuff, let's use the hand raise function on the participant tab. So yeah, that's just a little note before we start officially. So yeah, I hope that the winter term is going great for you guys. Like, we're already into week 3. It's literally crazy. Show of hands here. How many of you guys are moving into midterm season? Yeah, I see a couple hands. Yeah, same here. How many of you guys are on co-op? Oh, we got a couple co-ops as well. Okay. Okay, well, how many of you guys just can't wait until spring break? Only one person. Okay, there you go. I see all the hands coming in now. Yeah, same here, you guys. I can't wait till spring break either. Well, happy climate year, you guys. As many of you guys know, the climate crisis is an urgent crisis that impacts everyone in the world and requires collective action to address it. So I'm so excited that in our Drexel community, students, faculty, and staff from both the university and the Academy of Natural Sciences are, coming together to make 2021 our climate year. This case competition is just one piece of a year-long process of creating an impactful climate and sustainability-related agenda for Drexel University. So keeping that in mind, keep an eye out for more opportunities like this throughout the year, you guys, because I think Corinne's going to be putting out a link that has more information about climate year in the chat box. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, yeah, I see Jen and Corinne both just put out a link for it. So definitely check that out. Okay, so now I would just like to take this moment to thank all of our wonderful sponsors who have helped to make this case competition possible. So, our greatest appreciation and thanks to the people at Airmark, Drexel Business Services, the Center for Interdisciplinary Inquiry, the Undergraduate Student Government Association, the Office of Research and Innovation, and of course, the Climate and Sustainability Working Group. Okay, so especially when it comes to addressing urgent issues, collaboration between all different aspects of the university and the community is, the absolute heart of climate action and sustainable development. So, when it comes to tackling issues with the climate crisis, collaboration is key. And I would also like to extend our sincere gratitude and thanks to our judges. So our judges are Professor D. Nicholas. Professor, if you just like to, say hi or something, or just raise your hand so people know who you are. So Professor D. Nicholas is a registered architect, fine artist, and certified interior designer. Professor Nicholas also researches, designs, and advocates for sustainable services and strategies to bring health and secure living spaces to all people in urban environments. She coordinates the sustainability in the built environment minor and is the director of the MS Design Research Program in the Westfall College of Media Arts and Design. As a creative coach, she works to help people from all disciplines get in touch with their innovative and productive skills and ideas. So thank you, Professor D. Nicholas. Our second judge is Nick Mendez, who has been the resident district manager with Airmark for Drexel Campus Dining since the beginning of last year. With 18 years of tenure with Airmark Food Services, Nick brings experience from other lines of business, healthcare, and business services, as well as background from other higher education locations, including University of California, Irvine, and the University of Houston. Thank you, Nick. Our third judge is Anthony Klomenzer, who is the Associate Director of Drexel Business Services. Hi, Anthony. I saw you waved. In his role, Anthony oversees the day-to-day operations of all dining, retail, and parking locations on campus. Anthony is also Business Services Sustainability Liaison and has served as the project lead on all the department's sustainability initiatives since 2019. So we are so grateful for the time that our judging panel has taken to support this climate case competition and for the commitment to these awesome interdisciplinary student learning experiences. We hope that this past week in the competition has been a good learning experience for you guys, you know, something thought-provoking, fun, and interesting for all the teams here today. For this case competition's topic, you guys all know, it is as the climate emergency accelerates, we now find ourselves grappling with COVID-19 safety measures that have suddenly increased our reliance on single-use plastics, which is a major driver of fossil fuel consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. So the concern that our teams have been working so hard to think of a solution is, in Drexel Dining Services, how can we support the need for student safety while minimizing the use of plastics? So teams, just please remember a couple of guidelines for today. You have a time limit of 8 minutes for your presentation, but as Corinne said in the beginning, it's a little bit flexible. And then we will have 7 minutes for a question and answer session for the judges following each presentation. This is what timekeeping is going to look like. Bo Solomon, he's going to start a timer for 8 minutes, and then he will put out in the chat when you have 2 minutes left. And then at 8 minutes, he will say time. But like we said earlier, it's kind of a little flexible. Got a bit of a grace period there for the 8 minutes. For our judges, after the teams present, once I announce when the Q&A session's timing has begun, you may start asking the teams your questions. For our audience, you'll get a chance for Q&A towards the end when the judges confer. So keep your questions ready as well. Okay, all right, you guys. Corinne, did I miss anything? Any other info we want to get on before we get started?
I don't think so. I think you're great to go.
Awesome. Okay, since team 1 isn't with us anymore, team 2, you are up first. Are you ready?
Yes, more than ever.
Awesome. Team 2, go ahead and introduce yourselves individually and then also introduce your team name. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm Natasha. I'm a second-year computer engineering major.
Hi, I'm Alan. I'm a second-year data science major.
I am
Hello.
Katie. I'm a third-year sustainable design management major.
I can go next. Hello, my name is Tommy, and I am a third year studying computer science.
Hi, my name is Christina, and I am currently a third year studying nutrition.
So are we all good to get started?
Yeah, I think so we can
Okay.
introduce our team. We are Drexel Grab and Go.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Our team is very honored to be able to present Drexel's Grab and Go as our climate solution. As you can see, our team is diverse in experiences and perspectives from our majors.
So our proposal aims to tackle the multifaceted issue of sustainability amid the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on worldwide, and due to safety concerns caused another dilemma. University dining facilities feel forced to rely on single-use plastic utensils to feed their student population safely, even though they're terrible for the environment.
We hope to provide a solution by bringing about sustainable practices for urban eatery while also staying safe throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope to inspire Drexel students to become more environmentally conscious through our solution.
Our plan to accomplish this has 3 parts to it. The first is to shift urban eatery to primarily operate in a takeout meal model, with little to no single-use plastic utensils available. This will drastically reduce plastic consumption while also encouraging social distancing. Secondly, we will replace the single-use plastics with reusable tote bags and bamboo utensils that we will distribute once yearly to all students on the meal plan. Finally, we have also built a prototype of an app which students could use to order their meals ahead of time, which also helps reduce contact between students and staff, making campus safer for everybody. Components.
So we thought that creating reusable cutlery along with tote bags would be an efficient and effective pairing to our app. We wanted to give students the resources to cut down on single-use plastic consumption, hopefully incentivizing them to make more sustainable choices in the future. We figured Drexel could also use this as a marketing opportunity by imprinting various designs onto both the bags and the cutlery. So we designed these mock-ups, and we think they're kind of a good representation of the grab and go solution. And some of the sources we looked into for possible collaboration are seen on this slide. Eco Marketing Solutions and Custom Earth Promo offers customizations on their products, which is perfect for any Drexel logo design. In our research, we wanted to make sure to highlight the cost efficiency as well as the practical impact.
When implementing the reusable cutlery and tote, these options can be open to students freshmen and upperclassmen who are participating in Drexel's dining plan. These products can be given out during Welcome Week to freshmen, at Urban Eatery itself, or whenever Dragon cards are dispersed. Students may replace their own cutlery or tote at the potential expense of their Dragon dollars or dining dollars if the plan allows. Some other suggestions that we were thinking about regarding the single-use utensils were, if someone needs a utensil, then they have the option to purchase one of these reusable cutleries from the bulk purchases, or they could buy plastic utensils left over from previous years, but there would be a fee about like 50 cents or so.
And one of the challenges with facilitating a takeout order system is just coordinating logistics, right? How do you know what food people want? And how do service workers know how to get those foods into those people's hands? So we thought one of the ways, the 21st century way of thinking about it would be building an app, empowering it with some technology. As Alan mentioned before, this has two goals, with the first being minimizing the amount of time that students have contact with service workers. Again, we have to be COVID conscious. And additionally, since we are building out this system to encourage more takeout meals, this would facilitate more students to use their own cutlery, as it has become common practice with a lot of restaurants to actually just scrap the plastic cutlery with their takeout meals. And so Christina can navigate to the web app, this prototype that we've built. We also just, to mention that this was built in a weekend. So obviously this isn't the final design. There's still lots of rooms for improvements and to go into details about the technical implementation. But this is something that we just wanted to show as a proof of concept. And so Christina can navigate to the order page and show what it might look like to place an order as a student. You can imagine you might see items based on Urban's weekly dining menu, which students can select ahead of time. And then they can type their name in, that this is an order for, I can't read that because it's too small on my screen, but I think it says Christina. And then they can submit an order. Afterwards, this order would populate on another page where dining service workers would be able to see all of the incoming orders. And in the short time we've had, we've also built out the feature where dining service workers would be able to mark the order as complete, just to keep the queue clear and to have an idea of all of the various orders that they've already finished and are still, are incoming. Clearly, this is a really rough prototype, and there's still lots of other features that we could build on top of this. Some of the more useful ones that we thought of while we were building out the prototype was integrating this with the Drexel One app. This would remove the need for students this would help automate the need with handling meal swipes, as well as handling who the order is ID'd to. And additionally, there were extra features that we could add on the dining service side, where we could mark meals as, oh, we've put this together, and now we're just waiting for someone to pick this up, and so on. And this would also increase the tracking to figure out what items are popular, where is the food waste, what items aren't popular, and so on and so forth.
Our solution is indeed cost efficient, as we have factored in the number of people on the meal plan, daily transactions, and cost of each individual utensils and paper bags into our calculations of how much Drexel is currently spending on one-time use cutlery and bags. For this quarter alone, single-use items due to a frequency of transactions would cost $16,800. I know. However, if you replace these items with reusable bamboo cutlery and the tote, this will reduce the cost spent for this quarter immediately by 69%. As you can see on the graph, the cost increases the more number of days each quarter has, while the cost of our proposed items stay consistent since you will no longer have to factor in the number of transactions, as seen in the calculations on the bottom right. Instead, in total, the cost of our suggested reusable materials would only be $5,190 for the whole year. If you are curious about all the calculations and formulas, you can find them both on my spreadsheet linked at the end of the presentation and written out on our handout. Besides the cost benefits, this is a long-term solution for dining sustainability that can be implemented post-COVID as well. Regardless of any situation, students carrying their own cutlery and taking care of it to reduce waste is a good practice to make them green citizens. In addition, the app itself is a time saver to reduce the time of contact between students, as they can now be in and out of urban quickly. Even in the future when situations improve, this is a good tool to implement between classes. The app will help maintain environmentally cautious behavior through reminders to keep the reusable components at hand.
Challenges. One of the challenges we might face when implementing the Grab and Go program is that Aramark employees might require additional training to make the takeout system work and to operate the app. In addition, Aramark may need to hire more employees to manage this business. However, these challenges are quite minor, and again, the Grab and Go program will save thousands of dollars, drastically reduce plastic consumption, and raise environmental awareness among Drexel students. Thus, the benefits of Drexel Grab and Go far outweigh the costs and challenges.
Time, but finish up.
In conclusion, during this whole pandemic situation, our solution of having an application for a takeout or ordering system allows for less contact between peers and students, resulting in a safer campus for everyone. Enforcing a reusable cutlery and tote program can help minimize the use of single-use utensils while also promoting Drexel University and their role in saving the environment. Finally, these ideas combined are to remind and inspire the Drexel community to be more environmentally conscious as a whole. Thank you for listening.
All right, team 2, thank you for your super awesome idea. Judges, you have the green light to start Q&A.
Yeah, I thought that was a great presentation, guys. I think the best part to me was that you seemed to be enjoying it while you were doing it. So it seems like you had fun. So I think that's a very important factor that we hadn't discussed previously. I was really impressed with the fact that you guys built an app in the weekend. I thought that was great insight. I thought the logos that you guys have designed for the packaging were really nice. I like those a lot. I really liked your point that if we were to go with the recyclable component, that's a once a year cost as opposed to constantly replenishing. A few questions for you guys. One is, have you explored any cutlery options besides bamboo? Do you have any suggestions of alternative products? Nick's team does use that for catering. I know they're pretty pricey. I just wanted to get a feel for if you thought there was any other viable options.
Yeah, we did actually explore another viable option. It is another brand. We really wanted to implement cutlery, and the other option, it would be about $1,000 cheaper than the bamboo.
Okay. And I think another thing that really impressed Nick and I were chatting offline here. It's almost like you guys read our minds. We've been working on many of the things that you suggested implementing. So Nick's team and our executive director rolled out mobile ordering over winter break. We didn't do it in a weekend, so it's impressive that you guys got that out. But I think that you guys are definitely thinking the way we are thinking, and I think the idea of giving out the tote bag and the recyclable cutlery kind of parlays off the companion program that we rolled out a few years ago. So definitely on point with what we're thinking.
Yeah, I'll let you go first because mine end up getting too detailed. You can go ahead and ask any questions you have.
No, I just wanted to say that I love the focus on the cutlery, because I think that is like the one piece that could avoid a lot of the issues that were being spoken about in our Q&A last week. I'm really impressed, first of all, with the graphic, the way that it hangs together as a package. So I really feel like you told a story about how the whole thing, I feel like there's a communication to what you're proposing that's really nice. It feels like the whole thing is a thing. So, because I think that's a piece of what happens a lot of times in big institutions, is that something happens, but people don't really notice. and they don't understand that something has happened. And so I think with sustainability, a lot of times it's not that what you've implemented can't do the job, it's that people don't know that you're doing something, and that's why it doesn't work. And so I think the story that you tell about what you're doing has to be really clear. And I feel like the story is really clear that you've told. The piece of the story that I think is a little concerning to me is the metrics around if you don't bring your utensils, buying old utensils or getting replacement utensils. Because I'm that person that will forget the tote bag and I'll forget the utensils. I fall off that cliff all the time. And so I think that that's one piece that I think maybe needs a little bit of additional, I don't know how to fix that problem. That's like kind of a universal problem for those of us that try to do reusable stuff. And then I think the other piece is just thinking about like, because I know everybody has to carry a lot of stuff. How do we remember everything we have to remember? I sometimes can't even remember my keys in my phone. So how am I going to remember the spoon, knife, and fork, right? And then the other thing is that just thinking about like this idea that post-COVID, maybe there are tweaks that have to happen to this. Like, how is the longer lifespan of this? So, and I don't think any of those questions are questions that need to be answered today. Those are just things that I would think about in the bigger picture. But I really like the story you're telling, and I like the way you've packaged this.
Thank you, Dee. I know you just said we don't have to answer the questions today, but I'll try my best to answer a few. So like you said with the, remembering like your utensils or like replacing them if you lose them. Again, part of our idea was that we would buy in bulk and then students would be able to like either pay with dining dollars or something, or pay a small fee just to get another pair basically. Ideally though, this like fee or things would like incentivize people use behavioral economics to just keep better track of it and also, yes, use their reusable utensils and keep good care of them. Sorry, could you repeat your other questions? They were
I wanted to just say something about that because I think like what you're saying, and I don't want to take up too much time. What you're saying kind of gets at a crux of the issue with the sustainability conversation, which is that it usually comes down to like a carrot or stick conversation, which I think is a problem. And it's one of the reasons why we have a lot of the issues with people not wanting to deal with climate change, because it's often presented as a punishment. Oh, you have to give something up, or you have to pay for it, or it has to be somehow like not good. And I think that's a larger conversation that we're not going to have tonight because we don't have time. But I do think there's something to think about in terms of there is a concept of like sustainability. Like there's a thing called sustainability and hedonistic sustainability that has been put out there. And I think that if you think about that as a lens on this, maybe there's another way to solve that problem. Again, that's why I was like, you maybe don't want to answer it tonight because I think it's an addition to your design problem.
All right, thank you, Dee. That was all very good feedback.
All right, thanks, guys. I couldn't agree more with the judges here. That was incredible. The fact that you guys heard about this a week ago. You were getting very little information, and I know that several people reached out for more information and got probably very little from me as well. So I apologize for not giving as much details as we could up front. It was just a lot of questions in a opening week as we just kind of opened here about 10 days ago. But definitely some great ideas. I think the marketing piece from the logos look great. I loved Mario with the mask on and everything on the bags. It did all come together for me. From an operational standpoint, there were a couple of things using bamboo and reusing bamboo. That's something that will probably fall apart a little bit more. So if you're going to do something reusable, I think the logos is good, but you're going to want something a little more durable, especially if you're expecting students to use it for a full year. So whether it either costs more, I think bamboo is a great, sustainable thing. But I think regardless, if they're washing it, it's automatically going to be a sustainable item reusing it, whether it be metal or even if it's plastic. It's not a single-use plastic, but it's something that's more durable that then they could carry around a little bit more. And from the marketing standpoint, I think it's a great marketing package, but it was still missing the connectivity of talking to the students and how are we convincing them other than here's your bag and your stuff. And I might have, unless I missed a piece of that, but just kind of making sure that we're following up with, is it going to be the freshman sustainability group who's going to be coming and in the dining halls giving these out and talking about it. And back to the carrot or stick thing, is that something that the freshmen who can talk to other freshmen saying, hey, this is why we're doing this. This is not a university-led thing. We're not trying to take more money from you by making you buy more of these. We're trying to help the environment. And that's kind of back to Dee's point of how do we get to change the culture versus making them feel like, hey, you lost this and you gotta give us more money. And then the washing of them, it's a tough thing on our side too. So making sure students, we want them to be safe. If they're using their fork and knife and they wipe it off and they stick it in their pocket and it had bacteria on there and they're like, I'm gonna come back for dinner, and then they're using that same one, how do we educate them and understanding this is how you clean it? Or is there a way to, have that sanitation process put in there? And I'm not sure if any of that was thought about yet. Again, this is the fact that we got this in a week. I'm sure I'm going to say that for the next 3 groups. That I can't believe you guys came up with what you did in a week. So.
Thank you. Again, I can speak on behalf of the group that we really appreciate all of the feedback. Are there any other questions, perhaps from the audience or anything else from the judges?
I like I want to encourage the multi-pronged approach just in general in problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's something really strong in thinking about solving a problem. First of all, the multidisciplinary approach, but which is inherent to this whole competition, but the idea that you're going to do it in a way that isn't just one piece or one thing, that you need to, there's a complex problem. So it has to be solved in multiple fronts. And I know, probably all the teams have multiple fronts, but I like the combined, regime that you did multiple things. And it wasn't just like that you didn't look for a silver bullet. Cause I think, with these wicked problems, these complex problems, there's no silver bullet, and your solutions acknowledge that. And I think you have a way with the storytelling. So keep that storytelling, strengthen it and keep it, because that is the way to create the sort of the momentum behind these complex solutions. If you can tell the narrative, you can tell the story, then you build momentum behind your solution. It's nicely packaged. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Team 2, for your awesome presentation and for your creative ideas. All right, Team 3, are you ready? Anyone from Team 3 here?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, Team 3, go ahead, introduce yourselves, and you're ready to start.
Sure. Do you want us to start right now, or do the judges need some time to write down anything?
Introduce yourself first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. My name is Abe, and I'm a freshman computer science major. My team can introduce themselves.
My name is Ashish. I'm a finance major, first year.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a second year biology major.
My name is Raj, and I'm a second year biology major. And our other friend, his name's Ray, and he's a mechanical engineer, but he unfortunately is not able to attend at this moment.
Awesome. So good evening, everyone. It's great to be with all of you today. As we said, our team name is Green Dragons, and we're team number 3. And let's just get started. So the current plastic problem that we face is not a need of the hour, is not something that we can deal with in the future. It's a big crisis that we're facing. And this was the total amount of plastic that was found in landfills. As you can see, it's 27 million tons, and it's a huge problem that we have to deal with. And half of this amount was just from single-use plastics alone. And the problem with single-use plastics is that you have to use fossil fuels to produce them. And this is a big issue in terms of climate change, because it takes hundreds of years to degrade. And in the process of degrading, it releases toxic chemicals into our oceans, which kills marine life. And moreover, in the process of degrading, the single-use plastic degrading, they release harmful greenhouse gases such as methane, which is very harmful for the environment. And moreover, COVID-19 has dramatically increased the need for single-use plastics, which demands that we find alternatives to this problem. So currently, several institutions and universities around the United States have already recognized the importance of eliminating single-use plastics. However, a lot of colleges in the Pennsylvania area, in the Philadelphia area specifically, have been yet to address this issue. We at Drexel should play our part in leading the environmental sustainability movement in Philadelphia. And this leads us to our Dragons Go Green initiative.
So the most popular solution out there is to replace single-use plastics with paper products. However, this solution does have some downsides that we need to address. Primarily, paper products take up 10% more energy and 4% more water to produce than plastic products. And they also take up about 12% of landfill content in the US. And this is because not all paper products are being recycled, especially in the food industry. They're just being thrown out with the food waste and end up in landfills. And they also have a significant impact on deforestation. They constitute about 14% of deforestation annually. And in the long term, if we replace all single-use plastics with paper products, this is going to have serious environmental consequences. So we need to find a way to optimize the solution. And to do that, we started to focus on the post-consumption aspect to sort of make up for the negatives of the production process. So we found the solution to be composting. So what is the composting process? So we would take the food, organics, and compostable items, and after they're turned into scraps, we're going to be collecting them, processing them. They'll be turned into soil amendments and then used to grow more food. So the benefits of composting are that it's environmentally friendly. It reduces waste piled in landfills and avoids greenhouse gas implications from burning that trash in the landfills. It's also going to improve soil structure and water retention. So this makes plants healthier and more productive. And this is because it's a natural and organic fertilizer, which will reduce the need for synthetic chemicals in soil. So here are some of the compostable items that we're going to be implementing. And all these items are aiming to replace specific products that are currently in use by Drexel Dining. And all of these items are going to be BPI certified as compostable, and they're going to be able to be composted by a composting facility, which we will ship our compostable waste to.
So now that we've discussed our compostable replacements for dining, let's take a look at one of the biggest advantages to our proposed plan, which is cost saving. So as you can see, this is our cost benefit analysis, and the items you see on the left are what's being currently used by Drexel Dining in this COVID-19 situation. And you can clearly see that there are a lot of single-use disposable items that are being used for individual foods, which leads to a potentially large amount of daily packaging waste because most of these items are not compostable. We're proposing that Drexel Dining uses relatively fewer number of single-use items in the first place. And on top of that, we're thinking that we should go with compostable items that won't go into landfills and can be composted instead. So for example, as you can see, the mini compostable takeout container would be replacing 4 of those single-use items that are not compostable. And the 2 main advantages to this approach that we think is a very valid point to consider is that 1, it's fully compostable, and number 2, you save a lot of money. You can see that for the compostable item, you're saving 54 cents per item and so on. And these are a few more items that just show you the cost differences and our proposed replacements. And we've included a link to our spreadsheet if you want to see more about this.
And that brings us over to the cost benefit analysis for the dining items. This is based off of an average student consumption. Nick from Airmark Services informed us that the average student gets about 2 plates or bowls, 1.5 utensils, and 1 soda cup with a straw and a lid. So for Drexel, this costs 56 cents, but as you can see on the left here, this only costs us 19 cents per transaction. On the next slide, you can see our projected savings for these dining items. So as I said before, we're saving 19 cents per transaction, and we were given an estimate of 3,000 transactions a day. That leads to savings of $570 per day. And over a year, you can save up to $191,000. And here we just have a few of the bar graphs. As you can see, you have daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. This just shows us that how much we're spending is about a third less than what Drexel has to spend currently. And finally, our cost benefit analysis for our composting and waste removal. We included this because it will be a recurring cost. So we contacted Mr. Scott Dunham from our university facilities, and he said that Drexel generates approximately 100 tons of waste per month. Of that 100 tons, 22.5 are all just food waste. So we plan on splitting that food waste between the new company at the bottom you see here, Organic Diversion Composting, and Republic Services, which is what Drexel currently uses. By doing this, we can save about $1,099 a month.
So our projected savings from these compostable replacements are going to be used to fund three main items that you can see there: hands-free condiment machines, the BYOB, Bring Your Own Bag program, and campus-wide compost collection. So the engineer on our team who couldn't join us designed this sample example of how the hands-free condiment dispenser would look. And this works by pretty much using a foot pedal instead of actually using your hands. And here you can see how the hands-free condiment dispenser is better because you're eliminating the need for single-use plastic condiment packets instead. And this shows you some of the prices that go behind this and how much you can go ahead with this.
Time, but go ahead and finish up.
Okay.
So here's another one of the programs that we plan to implement, which is Bring Your Own Bag. So currently students are given a paper takeout bag with each meal, but we plan to introduce a free reusable cloth bag that students on the meal plan can use. And this cloth bag would be Drexel branded. So this goes along with our marketing strategy. Along with this, we plan to use campus-wide composting trash cans. So, because right now students, they cannot eat in dining halls, and these compost collecting trash cans are around campus only for compost. And as you will see, we can build and incorporate an interactive map into the Drexel One app to show the nearest trash cans for students. So our marketing strategy is as such. It's pretty simple. First, we reduce single-use plastics. Then we go on to spread awareness of this by putting up posters, putting up a splash page on the Drexel website and the interactive map on Drexel One. And finally, placing the bins around the campus for students to use. So here's an example of how the splash page would look with the idea of Dragons Go Green and our sustainability initiative. And then the following is how the interactive map would look for students to click on the nearest trash can to navigate to it so they can throw out their trash. So the projected timeline for this is first, finalize the commercial composting facility rates. And then after that, replace the current dining items with the composting ones, then place the composting trash cans around the campus, and then start marketing this campaign once it goes live. While the marketing is happening, we plan to implement the Bring Your Own Bag program and also implement the hands-free condiment machines, which work by pedals. And then here's our works cited. So we're open to any questions.
Thank you, team. Judges, you know what's the deal. You have the green light to start with your Q&A.
I'll get it started. That was awesome, guys. Big round of applause to your team. I thought it was really great that you started with a background and an overview of the larger issue that sustainability presents to the world. And I think your idea of comparing what's going on at other universities and suggesting that Drexel leads Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the sustainability efforts is a point well taken. I love the idea of composting. I have a couple of follow-up questions for you guys regards to that and how it would work in the dining halls, assuming that at some point we will go back to in-person dining. Did you connect with the organic diversion composting company regarding how they would handle composting in the dining halls? I think the totes that you guys showed around campus and the map was a great idea. Do they have a program that would allow the dining halls to also handle composting on site? Like, would they use those small totes, or would they need space for a large dumpster? Is there any information on how they handle that?
Yeah, so I did speak to, his name was Mr. Rocco Antonio, and he told me that there's definitely a lot of things we can work with, but given the time constrained nature of this, we weren't able to get university facilities connected with them and just get this conversation moving. But despite that, we do know that they're going to be able to provide a dumpster and compostable trash cans that can be placed around, and they definitely can handle it for dining. So it's going to be for food waste as well as the containers that they can handle. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. And then my other question is the projections that you made for cost savings, are they predicted over a 52-week calendar year or an academic year? Keeping in mind that the dining halls don't generally stay open all year round.
Ashish, do you want to take that?
That was a calendar year, not an academic year.
And then I think I mentioned this when we were doing the office hours during the week. I think that the condiment dispenser is an amazing idea. Definitely encourage more exploration of that as you guys move on through your careers.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I can go next this time. So yeah, I mean, I think you guys, Team Peter, did a great job of using your resources. I know you guys had the most questions, and I appreciate that. I know you guys kept me up trying to get some answers late last night, but I hope I did a good job of getting you some answers. I love the data. For me, that's obviously important from a business perspective to try to make sure there's data that's. I mean, there's lots of great ideas when it comes down to sustainability, and I think having the data is very important to make sure that this is a real business model. And you guys went through that very thoroughly. I think, to Tony's point, that was gonna be my question too. I think we said how many per day, but yes, from a amount of school days, that wouldn't be 3,000 transactions every single day. It would just be every, meal plan day for us. So that wouldn't be, it'd be about, half of that. But that's, little nitpicky things that still, you guys have that model built out, that's easy to change a number and be able to say this is what the savings would be. I do that the app, and I think linking to technology and be able to say, here's how you can find the compost bins is great once you've left a to-go place. Obviously, to Tony's point about trying to do that, how does that work inside the dining hall was another good question. But I think once you get outside, who would know how to do that? It's also still trying to make sure students understand what that is, getting them engaged to actually use that. But putting things at their fingertips like that will make them have that opportunity to be able to do that. I know we told you before about the hands-free pump. I liked seeing the pictures of it. I should have screenshotted it and taken it over to the Shark Tank people and said, look what I came up with. But great job with that. And I like you had a timeline in there too, and realize that it does take steps to get to make this a feasible thing. So I think this was more presented in a more business type fashion, where versus a marketing type fashion, but you did have some marketing pieces in there, but it was a little more numbers driven. But for me, that I like that part of it.
Awesome, thank you so much.
I love that. I think you guys made a really great business case for your ideas. And I like I think the multi-pronged approach, just like I was telling the last group, is super smart. And I feel like if you can make the case with the numbers, then you've made, then you're even, even better. I mean, I once had a studio where the only way you could pass the studio was to basically calculate how much the steel in your building weighed, and you had to be under a certain amount. And if you weren't under a certain amount, it didn't matter how good your building was, you didn't pass. But if you were under a certain amount, you got an A. So you also had to have a really good building. But so I think that numbers, you know, they're important. But I also think that like this idea that you have these innovative ways of approaching it. So there's a combination of like, you know, hitting the performance indicators, but also, you know, innovating around the sort of the human ways that people can interface with some of the things you're trying to do. I like the combination of those things. I do think that you would maybe want to have some messaging around some of that as well. And I think that would be kind of like the next step. But you guys did a great job of explaining and talking about what your idea is. And it's a really like a high impact, well explained, really well told, you know, set of interventions. So I think you did a great job. I really enjoyed the presentation and what you're proposing.
Thank you so much. And just to address that, I know we started running out of time a bit, but we definitely believe that student engagement is a big part of our plan, because if students don't know how to compost, then that kind of defeats the whole purpose of doing it, which is why in kind of designing our models of the trash cans and the dispensers and everything, we're trying to include illustrative images and descriptions about what students need to do to compost and get engaged with this. And that also goes back to our map and the splash page, just to keep people aware of what's going on.
Composting is a really fascinating topic as well, because it is like, you know, if you're doing it on a small scale, it's about the balance between the brown and the green, right? So there could be like, again, not to bang that story drum, but there could be something about that idea of balance, which isn't as important when you're doing it on a large scale, but there could be something about that you use to kind of tell the story. I think mining the idea of compost in terms of how you engage people with it. I've gone through periods of my life where I've been really obsessed with composting and done a lot of weird composting experiments in my house that haven't turned out too well. Maybe you want to discourage people from doing that in the dorms, but it could be part of how you tell the story, like, oh, don't be like so-and-so, they had a composting accident, you know, like, so it's got a lot of possibilities. I really like the
Thank you so much.
All right, team 3, great work. Thank you. Team 4, are you ready?
Believe so.
Awesome. You can feel free to start introducing yourselves and your team's name, and you can get started. Thank you.
Let me share.
Yeah, I can start with the introductions. Hi everyone, my name is Atharva. My pronouns are he, him. I'm pre-junior. Ryan.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Light. I'm a junior chemical engineer. My pronouns are he, him.
Hey, I'm Shirley and I am a sophomore. I'm majoring in business analytics and finance.
Two of our team members could not be here today. One of them has class, the other one is in India on co-op. But yeah, we miss them, but we're excited to present what we have worked on.
Okay. Should we just begin whenever?
I think so.
Yep, you can go ahead.
Well, thank you for having us again today. We are Group 4, and this is our Sustainable Dining COVID-19 and Climate Case Competition presentation. So just as a general outline, we identified short-term goals more around the COVID guidelines, and then some long-term goals for post-COVID, some marketing and engagement tactics, and then we'll transition into the Q&A. So to start off with, we're looking at Aramark to have an analysis of their supply chain and different like food offering options. So sourcing from more local farms will help with carbon dioxide mitigation in the overall supply chain, because there's better soil management practices. They'll identify seasonal produce, and it'll be fresher food. Another idea we had was Meatless Mondays. So offering only vegetarian and vegan options, again, cutting down on the overall emissions that are associated with meats. This will allow for better experimentation to see how the student body reacts to more plant-based foods, as well as building on the plant-based options, maybe a couple times during a normal dining day, switching out options at each station for plant/vegan options. Then transitioning into some incentive programs we have. Our group, in most cases, decided to go with incentive programs instead of punishing people for getting plastic bags, because students tend to respond better to incentives. And the first one we identified is having a North Side bagged program. So all this is a little bit outside the scope of urban. We felt that offering discounts for students using reusable bags at urban would cut down on overall university plastic use. And it could be just a normal like percentage off of their order. Transitioning to urban, we decided to say that if students used reusable bags / reusable utensils X amount of times in a row, they would be able to qualify for a reward. These rewards range from vouchers to Northside Eatery / Starbucks to free guest swipes or dining dollars. And this can be tracked through either a punch card or a Drexel One app.
And I think the biggest question is addressing the elephant in the room, which obviously stems from the fact that because of COVID-19, the biggest jump in emissions in dining halls have been coming from the fact that we're using plastic water bottles, plastic utensils, or other forms of utensils and cutlery that really aren't not similar to what we were using before. And straight away address the elephant in the room. For us, I think the best water option when we tried to analyze this, we looked at all the water bottles bottled water offerings that were available in the market, and we decided to pick Dasani, which is offered by Coca-Cola. Now we know we're a Coke school, Pepsi school, sorry, but hear us out. So we compared Dasani, which was the most sustainable bottled water, and we compared that with boxed water, which is a leader in plastic alternative packaged waters. Now, in terms of cost, I won't run the math to you, but as you can see, boxed water is almost 4 times the cost of Dasani. But when we further look at the environmental impact of it, Dasani, the new offering, which launched 2020, has 50% plant-based renewable and is 50% recycled PET. Now, if we calculate the CO2 footprint of this, it comes out to be 150 grams per 500 ml bottle. And again, I'll be happy to run over the formulas with you. But if we calculate the environmental cost of this per term, this comes out to $360. Now, this is the total cost of carbon, which means the amount of money it would take you to replace that carbon if you had to. And in terms of boxed water, which is 92% plant-based renewable and is like much more recyclable, bottle cap is also a tree cap. Its CO2 footprint comes down to 45 grams per half liter bottle, and its environmental cost is $109. And now we sort of ran another further analysis to sort of analyze the trade-off. Now it's obvious that in both of these cases, it's a very, very peculiar situation because if you see in terms of cost, boxed water is 4 times that of Dasani, but also in terms of environmental cost, Dasani is 4 times that of boxed water. So we don't really have a concrete solution here. I think according to us, going with Dasani would be the most viable option here, considering that we are considering this to be a short-term strategy with normal options resuming after COVID has ended. Yeah.
So transitioning from our short-term goals, we want to address long-term goals for all the dining halls. And a couple of them would be reducing overall food waste through using trayless dining. That's just something to take into consideration with urban switching to an all-you-can-eat style. Using trayless dining at University of Massachusetts Amherst catalyzed a 30% reduction in food waste. Also, coupling aggressive marketing about responsibility with food waste and smaller plate sizes and smaller utensil sizes resulted in a 20% reduction in food waste in further studies. And on the right-hand side, in the top graph, you can kind of see the difference in the amount of food waste between retail, which is what the past of urban used to be, and transitioning to all you can eat. It seems that lunch and dinner aren't too significantly different, but there are statistically significant differences between retail and all you can eat. Another further way to reduce overall food waste is offering tasting spoons. One con of this is it might increase overall plastic use if they're not renewable, but offering students the ability to taste food before they purchase it in studies showed almost half or over half of reduction in post-consumer food waste. Transitioning to more of an engagement aspect, we decided to offer an option where Aramark would partner with local community gardens for composting purposes, using coffee grounds that are used in the Java City complex within Urban. Coffee grounds are a great resource for composting for nitrogen, and they also discourage fungal rot. In the past, to my knowledge, Saxby's has done this as well, and representatives from local gardens would come and pick up the grounds. So it's a great way for community engagement and also positive PR for Aramark. And then transitioning into the student body, we decided to offer a reusable Tensile giveaway. So this would be a great welcome week care package that could help with like marketing the Office of Sustainability at Drexel, and could also offer some marketing materials like a slip with statistics on plastic and food waste. This would, from the beginning, help students engage with reducing their impact at Drexel.
So moving forward to the type of cutlery Drexel can give away. So there are basically 3 types of cutlery. That is bamboo cutlery, stainless steel, and edible cutlery. So our team strongly suggests bamboo cutlery as it is reusable and it is a one-time investment for Drexel. However, it is slightly expensive than the Drexel currently spending on cutlery. It costs 15 cents, and on an average, we have taken 7,000 sets for each quarter, and each set has a fork, a spoon, and a straw. Moving forward for stainless steel is more durable, and later it can be also used in Drexel dinings like Urban or Hans and anything. But it's highly, it's like quite expensive than bamboo as well, but it's a more durable solution. Lastly, our team does not strongly suggest edible cutlery as it's perishable, it's not reusable, and it has high cost. It costs about 30 cents per set, and each set has a fork, a spoon, and a knife. Then let's talking about our team marketing strategies. Yep. So there, we were suggesting that we can have a sustainability week each year. Each quarter, Drexel would have a sustainability week, which where the all Drexel dining goes zero plastic. Students would be encouraged to bring in their own cutlery sets, and this could be a good start. However, there would be still cutlery available at the dining, but that would be on needed basis. Talking about Greek Week is like when all the Greek organization on campus would be competing with each other to gain more and more points. And since these are big organization, it's a good opportunity to talk to students about reusing things, sustainability, recycling competition, mitigation lectures, and everything. So since it's COVID, let's have a transition from inter-dorm competitions to intra-dorm competitions, where people of each floor or each dorms could compete against each other and can talk about small sustainability goals they can set and talk about recyclable competitions. This would be more of an awareness program for students, but they would also be encouraged to engage and look forward for easier rewards. Moving on.
Time is up, but finish up. Go ahead.
Okay. Moving on the RA training program, UPenn is already using a RA training program, and this program basically includes older peers talking to freshmen about recycling and certification of sustainability. So we not only believe that incentives would work, we also believe that it should come from the within of students so that they can work for sustainability. So therefore, our marketing strategy also focuses on students doing their by themselves, not just with the motive of getting incentives. We have pop-up notifications on Drexel apps and websites. Students, whenever open Drexel websites or apps, they can get a pop-up notifications, which would remind them, hey, don't forget to take your cutlery to the dining, or just be sure to follow COVID protocols. It would together promote the idea of sustainability and social distancing during the COVID protocols. Lastly, we have the limited edition Dragon card, which would be issued to the freshmen coming in this year, which would have a green line at the bottom which says Year of Sustainability, and a QR code which would have all the details about the awareness links, the programs Drexel is offering, the sustainability programs Drexel is having, the sustainability office, and what all they want to look forward in future. And thank you. Thank you for listening.
You know, what's really interesting to me about this group is that I actually think there's some advocacy here. And I feel like in a way, I mean, I think there's some really interesting solutions and things that have been proposed, but I feel like you've done a lot of research that leads to a kind of on-campus advocacy. And you're kind of talking about the dining center as a center of advocacy, which I think is actually the story that you're telling, or it's the sort of your approach to the dining center. And I think that that is really interesting because it actually links food to conversation and advocacy, which, you know, right now we don't get to have as much of that as we maybe would like, but I think that's something that's really inherent and it's a tradition in all cultures. So I think in many cultures, not all, let's not say all, but I think that that's really an interesting part of your proposal. And I, you know, I'm not skipping over the metrics. I think, you know, the calculations look really interesting, but when you do a whole calculation and then you say, you know, we're not really going to make a recommendation based on this, we're not sure what to recommend. To me, that's about advocacy. That's about conversation and discussion, which starts to be about advocacy, right? Because what I heard was you're like, Dasani, box water, nah, we don't know, right? To me, that's not a bad thing. That means that you're saying we need to have more conversations about products. And our proposal is about having more conversations about products. And I actually really like that. So I think, and maybe a week isn't long enough to dig through every product. So you're kind of pointing us in the direction of, hey, maybe there needs to be more conversations about the fact that we know you guys do these calculations, involve the students in that, right? So that's really interesting. I like that. I feel the advocacy from this group. And so I just want to commend you on that. And I like that approach. And I like that your last slide is about advocacy. Like there's just a lot of that. And I like that you drew on things you see happening across the region. I will say that I think you kind of did a little bit of a lot. And I feel like there needs to be maybe one or two things that are just sort of like the big things. And that would be one thing that I would say moving forward would be the thing to sort of focus your advocacy story on. I kind of think that that would be something to think about. But I really like a lot of what you had to say. I thought was really great.
I'm gonna hop in here next. So she stole some of the things I was gonna say. I like the way I felt like you were connecting a lot of that advocacy piece of it. So it's about, so the Meatless Monday is actually something we have done before, but you're right that if it's something that we can kind of redrive, and I think a lot of times what we'll do is we'll say it, we'll have it as a line on an email that people might read or might not. It's really about making sure that everybody understands why we're doing it and the story behind it. I like the rewards piece of it. I think probably, I know we went back and forth on the water for the Dasani, which would be Aquafina, by the way. So, but very similar pricing, I'm sure, and similar structures that would equal that. We don't really have that issue right now because we, even in urban, we aren't doing bottled water. But across campus, and when you're going to convenience stores and things, we do have that plastic bottle. So the numbers are still relevant from a campus-wide, but not so much at urban. Then I think the RA training I thought was awesome. And I really think that freshmen, you know, when they walk in the door, bright-eyed and, you know, excited for what's next, you know, who's going to kind of guide them from the beginning. And a lot of times their RA will be their first person they're looking up to. If that RA is trained to talk about, hey, here's our sustainability piece, and I'm not sure, maybe they do have a piece of it right now, but obviously if we don't have some of these things in place that you guys are talking through, then maybe it's never even been mentioned. So I think that's great. Involving Greeks, interdorm competitions, that's other things that we've done at other schools. I know is interdorm or inter area, when you had two different dining halls, we have competitions about who can save more. So I think those type of things are important to get the advocacy, to get students wanting to do it. So, and that was a good piece.
Yeah, thank you. I think kind of what we are gathering from the presentation is that like we could definitely build more on some like the metrics that we've offered. Like again, it was a week. There were a lot of other options that we saw out there, like pod water that comes in like little edible pods, but we couldn't get a lot of economic numbers around that. So we did what we could, but also that, again, that like advocacy aspect, we believed that, you know, you can kind of like offer these options and like, you know, change around the entire dining halls. But if the students don't understand why you're doing it, then they're probably going to rebel against that program or not care about it. So if you can install that sense of like care and community, they're going to be more inclined to be a part of these programs. And offering incentives instead of punishments for abiding by these programs is definitely the right way forward to further engage the community.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and quickly to jump in, Nick. Yeah, like I said, we do realize we're a Pepsi school now. But Dasani actually introduced new packaging, the 50-50, 50 plant-based, 50 pet, which is why we recommended that. Aquafina has plans to do that, but they haven't done so yet. I think their timeline for that is anywhere between 2025 to 2030, along with Poland Spring and other companies, which is why, yeah, we understand we're a Pepsi school, but that is one Coke product I think we have to sort of stand behind.
I appreciate that. That's good insight. Thanks.
Yeah. So great job, guys. Most of my comments will, I think, echo the other judges. I will say that we have a meeting with Pepsi in a few weeks, and one of the things I hope to bring up was their timeline. They have a very robust sustainability program, but their timelines are quite long term. So I was hoping to get an update. So hopefully we can share that with you guys once we get it. I definitely think your strengths were in advocacy and not just marketing, but campus engagement. I think that the interdorm competition was a great idea. Business Services also oversees the Drexel Dragon Card program. So I could definitely see us moving forward with something like your recommendation for the Dragon Card. I think we mentioned it before, but I think we're looking to pull ideas from each team. So perhaps we have a winning team, but we steal a few ideas here and there from everybody. That's kind of why we want to get all these multicultural, intricacy groups here together. One thing I think we've been looking for in the past is some of the metrics that you guys presented about carbon emissions, the social cost of carbon. I thought that was a really great point that we don't often consider. And I think one thing, the next step for your program would be your recommended local sourcing, things of that nature. So some of the things that we've talked about internally, but we don't have the science background to look at is like, what is the emissions reduction if we source locally versus, bringing it from California, things of that nature. So I think, moving forward, next steps with a program like this, those are some of the data points we'd be looking to get. Thank you, guys. You did a great job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So do we have time for Q&A? Can we take some from the chat?
I think we're going to hold off on the Q&A from the attendees for when the judges deliberate, if that's okay. So we're gonna, okay, so we're gonna keep moving. Oh, sorry, Shivani, I'm stealing your thunder. But yeah, we'll get to those questions afterwards.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, you're good. Good job, Team 4. Now the floor is up for our last team of the evening, Team 5. Are you ready, Team 5?
Yep, we're ready.
Awesome. You guys can introduce yourselves and get rolling when you're ready.
Perfect. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's been great to see everyone's presentations, and I want to thank the judges and the entire staff who sort of put this event together, especially I think for our team more, because we were just individuals and they put us together in this team, and we've had a fantastic time. So I really want to say that before we start. But my name is Sudipti. I am a senior chemical engineering major, and co-presenting with me is Mario. Mario, if you want to say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mario. I'm a computer engineer and junior here.
And our other team members unfortunately couldn't be here with us, but they're here with us in spirit. They're just in classes right now. So our team members were Anna, Atara, and Heather. So I guess we'll get started. Yes. Okay. Wait, it's not moving. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So one of the things we did was we really took to heart the problem statement. And what we did was we broke it down into 3 distinct pieces that we wanted to look at. We wanted to look at COVID-19 and specifically how that impacts the dining system. We also wanted to look at other sources which cause a lot more greenhouse gas emissions and fuel consumption within the food industry. And obviously we wanted to look at single-use plastics and plastics in general and see how we could minimize that. So looking at this problem globally, we looked at the entire sort of greenhouse emissions globally from food production and the global emissions as it related to food consumption. So another thing that all of this pointed out to us, which was very important to consider, was the amount of food which was not consumed and wasted, as it also caused an environmental burden. So along with looking at alternatives to plastics, we also thought we should look at the food waste too. So looking a little bit more into Drexel itself, we found this really great sustainability list that Drexel Dining Sustainability had up, and all the sort of areas that they were working at. And we highlighted specific things that we thought we could add to those specific areas. For example, alternatives to single-use plastics, upcycling food waste through partnerships like the Drexel Food Lab, using vendors and technologies to bioprocess food waste, growing herbs and spices in Drexel gardens, and promoting alternative promoting alternatives and COVID guidelines in communities and food productions. Alrighty, so now we look specifically at urban eatery, and we wanted to make sure that we took some things into consideration. The first one was that we didn't really want to implement reusable containers because of the COVID guidelines. We also wanted to make sure that we took into consideration the space limitations we had at urban eatery. And we also wanted to make sure that we accounted for the all-you-can-eat format at urban eatery because it was convenient and we had a plan which would combat the more plastics that it produced. So this is our short-term plan. So this short-term plan relates to the sort of COVID crisis which is going on. So one of the things that we decided to do was we wanted to stress more on biodegradable utensils, especially cornstarch utensils, which are about 70% plant-based. And we wanted to encourage student use of that by putting plastic utensils in apparent places which were harder for students to get to. So their use would mainly sort of focus on biodegradable utensils. We also thought it would be really important to use this sort of interim period while COVID was going on to start selling reusable utensils to students for about $10. $10 is about a 50% markup on what you could get in bulk. And these would be stainless steel reusable utensils. We also thought it was very important for sanitation. So one of the things that we found was a UV wand, and a UV wand can be used to clean surfaces. It is 99.9% effective in killing germs, and it's also very effective against COVID-19. So we thought it would be an interesting thing to implement to also reduce waste when it comes to cleaning surfaces. We also wanted to get a UV sanitizing container. So if students do end up in the future bringing containers with them, they can get sanitized in this container, and they would be safe for the students to use. And we have a marketing plan with this short-term goal. So our marketing plan contains, it is an idea to send out newsletters to the Drexel community with COVID as it pertains to Drexel Dining, and why it's important to be careful within the context of coming to Urban Eatery, and all the things that we are doing in Drexel Dining to be sustainable, and all the future things that we can do, again, to go towards the goal of being more sustainable. And we also thought it'd be important to have a suggestion box so people could submit their ideas about how they think that Drexel Dining and the process at Urban Eatery could improve. So Mario is going to tell us a little bit more about the long-term plan.
Okay, thank you so much. So for our long-term plan, we are thinking to bring back the containers, but especially we are thinking also for the students to use their own containers. Right now, also the Hansu Master is using a system of reusable containers, and we were thinking to implement it with a bring your own container. So the student will bring their own container to save some money for the university and also to reduce waste. We can incentivize these systems by either giving local market coupon or priority line access. The priority line access was already a system used at the University of Alberta in Canada, which had a great success. And we calculated that if 20% of students can apply to this program, the university can save more than $65,000 per year on disposable utensils. And also something else that we want to work on is reusable containers and utensils. So we want to focus on utensils to give the tools to the students to make safer choices. And I will tell you later how we can marketize this. Next slide. Also, we noted by disaster worked really great at Drexel University. It saved a lot of money per month. We don't know if Drexel University has more space to add another by disaster. If not, Drexel can work with another upcycling. It is not, they've been working with other FIDI organizations. They work at food market to reduce 80% of food waste. Also, we were thinking to educate our students, so to make more self-consciousness of this global crisis. We have these departments, let's use them. So our marketing plan for the long term will be really easy. Just keep sending emails, letting the student know what is happening, and also to have a digital punch card system. So if students bring 10 times their home containers, they will get a discount on the utensils, or they even get free utensils. After all, if students bring 10 times their home containers, the university will save enough money to give away free utensils and still save some money.
Now we're going to look a little bit at the cost analysis. We performed cost analysis for 4 parts of it. So first we looked at biodegradable utensils and reusable containers and utensils. So as you can see, it seems like the biodegradable utensils are a little bit more beneficial in the cost benefit ratio, but I think it's also very important to recognize the sort of environmental burden that biodegradable utensils do have as well, because of the intensive corn farming and bamboo farming and things of that nature. Our group thinks that even though the cost benefit ratio is not as high for the reusable containers and utensils, we believe that that is sort of the way to go. And I think it's also important to note that the set of 400 reusable containers and utensils this is based off of will change, because in the beginning, when this program is being implemented, you would obviously need more, but as more students become more involved in this program, the need for buying more sets would decrease. So the cost benefit ratio, depending on where you are in the program, would change that way. We also thought it was interesting to do a cost benefit analysis for the UV sanitizing container and wand. So the UV sanitizing container is about 25% more beneficial. So if you solely want to use UV sanitizing for the purposes of students bringing in disposable containers, that would be the way to go. But if you'd want to also decrease waste when it comes to cleaning surfaces and things of that nature, a UV sanitizing wand would also be a beneficial purchase because of the mobility it allows.
So thank you for joining us today. So our plan is not only what the university can do to reduce waste and the use of plastic, but also how we can empower the students, how we can make them leaders of their own choices and make them more self-consciousness of what is happening. We will work on an interdisciplinary view, so we work with the UV lights to reduce the cost for the chemicals, less use of plastics, and to sanitize the surface more faster. And also, we thought the idea to educate the students using departments to grow our own herbs. So yes, thank you so much for hearing us today, and go Team 5.
Awesome job, Team 5. Now it is time for our last Q&A session of the evening. So let's get those questions rolling in, judges.
Guys, great presentation. I'll jump in and go first. Let me read through my notes real quick. I thought some of the background information you guys presented was really well taken. I don't think a lot of people realize how much carbon emissions come from things like cows and livestock that you noted. So I definitely think, like, moving forward, that could be an integral part of any kind of marketing program that not just Drexel, but anybody puts out. I like that you guys looked into cornstarch utensils. From what I know about those are a little more sturdy than some of the other options that we've looked at in the past. Do you have a question specifically about the UV sanitizer that you guys are recommending? Is the plan, the way I understand it, would be that students would bring their own container or use a recyclable one that perhaps Drexel gets for them, and then they would bring it back to one of the dining halls to be sanitized? Is that correct?
Yeah, so the plan is that they would bring their own reusable containers, and they would be able to sanitize them at the Drexel halls, and then they'd be able to use them to get whatever food it is that they would need.
And is the vision for the students to be using the wand themselves, or to have a staff member do it for them?
So I think it would be when it rolls out, it would be for a staff member, just so people know how to use it. But I think as it goes on, we could sort of trust the students to go and do it themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I don't know that we've ever really looked into that. I think one of the challenges that would need to be considered is, how do you deal with things like food scraps and things that are left in the containers when they're brought in? So it may require some additional infrastructure that would need to be considered. I really liked your ending with empowering students and making them leaders in the movement. I think that's a theme that's kind of popped up in a few other presentations, but I really like that you guys singled it out. I think that's one of the goals of any university, really. And I do think sending emails and things of that nature are is a step that we're currently taking. And I like the idea of the punch cards. Is something that came up in a lot of other teams. Again, what Dee said about using the carrot. I think sometimes as an administration, it's hard to really use the stick method to get students to kind of adapt the behavior, because it seems very authoritarian. So I definitely tend to lean towards those types of proposals. Great job, guys.
Thank you. And just
so for the UV lights is a known method for right now for restaurants to keep up with the modern sanitizing rules, especially because it saves a lot of time. You don't need to buy a lot of expensive chemicals, and it means also less waste of plastics. And yes. So just that's it. And the UV lights can be also used for the water bottles. You did mention this last week, it was hard for students to bring their own water bottles because they might be infected or dirty, but with this method they can clean and everybody can easily and really safe use the water fountains at Urbana. Okay, just that's it.
I mean, one of the things that I think is interesting too is with the UV thing. So like, I like the idea of, I really like the idea of the UV. I've never used that UV solution for the sanitizing. So I have no idea how it works, but I think it's a great solution. I like the way that you are, again, this sort of multi-pronged effort. I think the idea that we're sort of responsible for ourselves in this is really interesting. And I think that there's something very I like the way that you describe that, and I think it's really a great. I think it's a great part of your solution, and I think you guys did an awesome job sort of pulling all of that together. So great job, and it's great to see Sidipti. Can't believe you're a senior. That's
it's been a while.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, I think Tony stole a couple of my questions again. I mean, about the UV wand obviously is probably the biggest differentiator from the other groups at this point. I think it's good. I think probably from a trusting students to do it is a little bit of a concern, obviously, because it's not just about, we want to make sure that students themselves are safe, but if they're handing over a container that they've sanitized and it's now in a server's hand who's now serving them and giving it back, and if it wasn't properly sanitized, then it's causing an issue there. So but I think the technology in general, thinking about it from when people come in, and is there more of like almost like an airport security bag check type thing of making sure that it goes through and it's sanitized? Is that a way that could be done to make sure that there's no user error?
Yeah.
But I think from a technology standpoint, it's great to think outside the box there, and no pun intended. I do like how you brought up the cornstarch and the fact that it's great that it's biodegradable, but how much corn, like the amount of like the overall carbon footprint to create those two, when you start looking at big pictures, like, wait, does it make sense? We just crushed all this to make this one little utensil, which is going right in the trash. So I think people do kind of forget that, and they forget that the whole carbon footprint of getting things to where they need to be. I do like the connectivity with the Drexel Food Lab and also the Dornsife Center. I think that's connecting to the community is a big part of it, and I think that is how you probably get in students to be engaged, to realize that it's making an impact on the local community. And I think that was something. I think somebody else brought up the herb gardens and things, but not so much working with an outside local community piece like this. So
it's interesting because, oh, sorry, Nick.
No, that's it.
It's interesting because although this is a competition that has like a really specific goal, I see so many parallels between the solutions and the kind of bigger conversations that are happening around how are we gonna sort of solve these issues. And so we've got the technological, right? We've got the carrot and the stick. We've got the community. So all of the same threads come up in these conversations that are coming up in the meta conversations that are happening, the theory conversations, the governmental conversations, and we're talking about food service on one campus. And I just find that really fascinating. And I think that speaks to, first of all, the quality of the students and the teams. You guys really did a lot of work. All of the teams did an amazing amount of work, but I'm really impressed with how much effort. And I think it also speaks to, the competition itself, I think, is a great effort. And I'm excited. I have really enjoyed listening and hearing about how each of the groups attacked the problem and thought about it, and the sort of mind power. So the quantitative, the qualitative, the community oriented, gardening, Dornsife Center. We're gonna do community. We're gonna do technology. We're gonna do self-empowerment. Like, it's great. I do think that like thinking as like about your community and who your stakeholders are in your project, that's really important. And so hearing the voice of who from who you are has been really interesting as part of this as well for me. And I don't run this dining facility, but it's been fascinating for me to hear all of this as well. So I want to thank you guys for sharing your thoughts. It's been great.
Well, thank you so much for your words. If I may, just like you said, we brought a lot of ideas from many fields. And also Dr. Barak asked this question, and I feel like it's something about this competition. We were played all together, and my team, there were people from all kind of background, from everywhere in the world, with all majors, and we all brought the best we could, and we put everything in this presentation. So I think like what really came out well in this competition is that we managed to work together and to bring together all the best of ourselves.
That's great to hear. I mean, that's not always how it goes.
Yeah, I feel that.
All right, you guys, great work. Team 5, thank you for all your great work. So all 4 of our teams have done a great job presenting at our first climate case competition. And let me just tell you, like, this evening has just been so amazing, just getting to hear all of your really cool ideas. Like I said, there have been so many innovative ideas circulating among you guys, you know, for coming up with ways to minimize the use of plastics in Drexel dining services, while also supporting the need for student safety in the age of COVID-19. So thank you to all of our teams. We are now going to give the judges 15 minutes for some time to confer. Audience, now is the time to ask any questions you may have for our teams. Please feel free to use the hand raise function on Zoom, or you can use the Q&A, or you can type out into the chat. And you can also feel free to stand up and shake it out a little bit, you know, like stretch, fill your water, get a snack. We've been sitting here for a while, so you can feel free to get up, or you can feel free to stay here and chat if you'd like, ask your questions. So yeah.
Just a quick note to the judges, you can leave the meeting and you should be able to rejoin by using the same link from when you joined this afternoon. Or you could also just like mute and walk away from your computers if you don't want to leave, that's fine too. Shivani, I was also getting a couple questions in the chat and it looks like we have some in the Q&A. So do you want to start with some of the questions that came into that Q&A box?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's start with Katie's first question. Question for all the groups. What was it like working on an interdisciplinary team? What were some of the challenges faced? What opportunities were revealed by using multiple disciplinary perspectives? So you can just feel free to use the hand raise function and I will moderate the Q&A. Okay, I see Katie Redmond first. Your hand is raised.
Hello. Yes, I really liked this question. I am a custom design major, so I love interdisciplinary studies. But I think what was really cool about getting to work with my group specifically is a lot of the people in my group were very computer science oriented, numbers oriented, and I'm not like that at all. Usually I'm very art driven and that sort of thing. And so at first there was like some panic in my head. I'm like, oh no, like I'm not smart enough to be on this team. But everyone was so nice and it was just really cool getting to see how all of us got to the answer we got to, like seeing all of our brains work. It's not a very eloquent way of saying it, but I think that's kind of the best way I can articulate it. I just really liked getting to see what everyone could bring to the table, because that's my favorite thing about custom design and interdisciplinary stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome, Katie. It's great to hear from you. Sudipti, you can answer next.
Yeah, so this was an amazing experience, and I love interdisciplinary work. Yeah, I mean, I'm a chemical engineering major, but I like to be in places where engineering isn't usually not the main thing. So this was an amazing, amazing experience. And I really enjoyed it. I think one of the things that was really cool was no one was sort of hindered with ideas. We were all just like, throw all of your ideas out there and see which one sticks, which was really, really fascinating to see. And then we were able to come up with something we were very proud of. So that was amazing. And it's like, and being here and looking at everyone else's PowerPoint presentations, they were amazing. And there were so many things that we never really thought of. And it was like, even though we were an interdisciplinary team, just to seeing what all we missed, but what all everyone else got. And I think it was fascinating. So thank you.
I totally agree with you. It's so cool to see everybody's like different approaches. Abe, you can go next.
Yeah, honestly, this was a very unique, but definitely amazing experience, because I think a lot of times we can get very stuck on what we're doing. Like as a computer science major, I can get very focused on, oh, how's the design and the software aspect of things, but getting to know like the business side of things and what the actual science is behind environmental sustainability and everything like that. I think that really ties in everything very well. And we honestly thought it was like an amazing experience to go with. And we did face some challenges, kind of meshing everything together and coming up with our overall proposal. But ultimately, I think we were all very excited to be able to apply our knowledge in one domain to like a different field, which is very cool.
I'm so glad it was a good learning experience for you. Does anybody else, would anyone else like to answer that question? If you'd like to, you can just feel free to type it out in the chat or I'll come back to you later. But just moving on to Katie's next question. It looks like the next two questions are for Team 4, if you'd like to address those questions.
Shivani, would you mind reading out the questions?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, Team 4. We have two questions for you guys. Could you please talk more about how you factored your carbon footprint? And 2, based on Dee's feedback about the quote big thing, what would you choose as the bigger things you wanted to do?
Atharva, do you want me to share the presentation again?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I'll take the first question, and then I think like others can chime in on the second question. Thank you for the question. Yeah, don't worry, Ryan. I have on my screen anyways. I have a tiny laptop, so I have to make do with it. Yeah, so the way we sort of calculate, yeah, that's the screen. The way we sort of calculated the CO2 footprint was essentially, if you sort of scroll down in the references, there are links provided for like further reference, but essentially there are multiple different agencies that calculate carbon footprints. For example, EPA does that, UNEP does that. And these are like arbitrary estimates. They're not like set in stone. So what they pretty much say is, here is how much 1 gram of plastic is supposed to correlate to in terms of carbon dioxide. And what we did was we considered the average for what a water bottle would be. That is 100% polyethylene terephthalate PET. And we sort of deducted 50% of that to get the current equation that we have 50% plant-based, 50% recyclable, because the 50% plant-based doesn't really go into the footprint using the factor that we used. And then essentially, in order to calculate the environmental cost, we use the estimate of social cost of carbon as given by Ackerman and Stanton in their 2011 paper. This might be outdated, but like this was the most recent, the one that we could find. So what they say is the cost of offsetting carbon is $21 per ton. And what we did was we basically just used that figure and multiplied that with how much carbon footprint we were estimating to be totally generated by one bottle into the number of bottles that are going to be used daily into 77 days for a term. And that sort of gave us our environmental cost, which is the cost that it would take for us to take out that carbon from the atmosphere if we had to. So that's essentially how we sort of walked through it. Yeah, I hope I answered that well. And like, yes, like similarly for plastic, there are also estimates available for aluminum and like plant-based substances, which is what we did for boxed water, because boxed water, the composition of the container was not plastic. So in that case, we had to use the CO2 footprint estimates for aluminum and plant-based materials. Yeah, that's essentially how we did it. Yeah, do you or Shelly want to take the next question, Ryan?
Right, I can probably build on that a little bit. Let me see real quick. So I think like our short-term goal, like our general recommendation was more along the looking at the supply chain analysis through the different types of like partnering with the local farms, making sure we're keeping our overall emissions down through that, partnering with ones that do soil management well, and fresh produce, and making sure that, again, we're keeping our emissions down through that way. For our long-term goal, so assuming COVID's pretty much under control by the fall, we're hoping to have that rollout program of the Welcome Week package with the utensils, and then partnering with all of that short-term and long-term goals. Pretty much our overall thing is having social engagement be a priority.
Awesome. Thank you, Team 4, for answering those questions. Just moving forward into the Q&A box here, Katie also has a question directed to all the teams, which is, after watching each other, what did you see that you thought was an excellent idea from one of the other teams? So like the first question, just use the hand raise function in the participant tab, and I will moderate the Q&A. All right, Shaylee, you are up.
Yeah, hi. So I personally thought the group 2 presentation about the app, Go and Grab app, and that was like something really interesting, which Drexel can implement, but I don't know about the cost and the policies as of now, like I'm not really sure about it, but that was something really interesting. I thought, yeah, nice thought. I could have done that too. It was nice.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really cool idea. Christina, do you have something you want to share?
So same thing hand in hand with your group too, Shiley. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, but I really like the idea of the advocacy part. When we were marketing our products and whatnot, we were trying to advocate in some sort of aspect too, but you like worded it out and detailed it out more. So I like really respect that.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, both of you guys. Would anybody else like to share? Yes, Sudipti, go ahead.
I feel like I already went, so I don't want to talk all the time. But like I said earlier, it was amazing. I think like all of them. I think the way the first presentation, Group 2's presentation with the app was fantastic. Group 3's presentation, the amount of cohesion it had, and the way they were telling the story and the idea of the composting was very, very well thought out. Group 4's idea was, again, I loved how they had like cited articles, cited papers. That was really cool for me personally. And the amount of sort of rigorous work they did in all the graphs and everything. So it was just really, really good. So good job, everyone.
It is so great to hear that. That's awesome, Sudipti. Abe, you're next.
Yeah, like everyone mentioned, all the teams, I think, did an amazing job, and it was amazing to see a lot of diverse perspectives. We really liked Team 5's idea of the UV light. That's something we thought was just very cool, and I think it would be really amazing to see that happening in Drexel Dining if that's an option. So yeah, great job to everyone.
Totally agree. I never even thought of the UV light idea. So totally props to Team 5 for that. Would anybody else like to share? Does anybody have any questions for any of our teams?
Shivani, I received an anonymous question. Can I read that real quick?
Yes, of course.
A question about the engineering aspect for the condiment stand. Does this work for those who have disabilities, such as students in wheelchairs? I guess that was for Team 3.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Our current model would involve you having to actually use the foot pedal, the foot pump, and I guess the challenge around that is it would not be as, I guess, user-friendly for people who are having that issue. But I think that's definitely something to take in mind. So I think we would keep that in mind in improving our design. So thank you for that.
Thank you for the answer, Abe. Ryan, looks like you have a question.
Yes, I did. I wanted to go back to, I think it was Group 3 who did the composting. I just wanted to say how like well thought out that was, and it's probably one of the best examples I've seen of like Drexel doing composting on like a larger scale. So like big ups. The one question I kind of had was like, how are you planning on how to like accommodate like composting contamination? So like, let's say there's like some like meat or oils or highly acidic stuff that gets in there, like that stuff can kind of like contaminate compost piles. So how does the group kind of foresee that happening downstream?
Raj, do you want to take it, or do you want me to?
You can take it, Abe.
Okay. Yeah, so the composting facility we contacted was Organic Diversion, and from just talking to Mr. Rocco D'Antonio, I believe that the technology they use, they call it a composter, and the way the process works, they have some sort of filtering system right now to get rid of anything that is plastic and that's, like you mentioned, heavy items like oil and those kind of meat things that are not thrown out properly. So they do have a filtering system to first get rid of that before the actual composting process is done. So from the Drexel perspective side of things, Drexel wouldn't have to worry too much about that kind of contamination, but I think it's a great point to raise because we should make students aware that you shouldn't be throwing out these kind of items in the compostable trash cans. So thank you for that question.
Totally. Sounds great. I'll have to look into it. Thank you.
Wait, I actually have a question for you guys, because when I was listening, I was like thinking about this. Because like when you, for team 3, I think you guys are right. Like you guys were talking and like you would be putting compost bins like all over campus, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, do you guys think there would be an issue with like a concern relating, you know, like wildlife and stuff? Because, you know, there are like squirrels on campus. I don't know, maybe there's raccoons, there's birds and stuff. So like, did the facility you guys talk to, when there are bins and stuff, do they have some way to like address that concern?
Yeah, so the people we talked to, I believe the containers are like fully sealable, so you can like completely seal it. And also it wouldn't be like a once in a week pickup because obviously it's compostable food waste. And so you don't want it to just sit around. So I believe based on the contract and stuff they would draw up, it would involve them coming to Drexel 2 or 3 times a week, which I think would improve that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely it would be really cool if it happened, because it would, you know, help to not fully solve, but like really help mitigate the food waste problem.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the reasons that we really liked it, because it's definitely really environmentally friendly, which is a big purpose or big motivation behind this competition. But from I guess a practical standpoint, it appears to be cost effective. You're not incurring extra expenses. And in fact, you're saving money by diverting the food waste into compostable facilities. So we were very excited about that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, anything like they'd like to address? You guys can feel free to take a break as well. You've been sitting here for a while.
Shivani, it looks like Nick's back, and I think Tony and Dee are coming back on. Nick, did you want to take a minute before you all announce the winners?
Sure. Yeah. I first want to say thanks from all the judges. We had our own little side visit there. The scores were incredibly close, and we realized how hard it was as hard as it was for you guys to create this in a week. It was hard for us to judge it in 15 minutes. And we pulled lots of great things from everybody's ideas here. We really appreciate you guys taking that time. I know there wasn't a lot of data given to begin with. You guys all went your separate ways to kind of come up with somewhat similar solutions. And we were, you know, in the end, there were a couple of things that really singled it out here. And I'm trying to see if Tony joined just to make sure I don't steal any thunder when he comes back on. But we're going to announce it in a third, second, and then first place. Corinne, we actually tried to invite you into our secret judges meeting to make sure we were doing this the right way.
It looks like Tony has now joined.
Okay, there's Tony. And he's on mute. All right. So with that, Tony will announce our third place winner and why we chose third place. Sorry. Go ahead, Tony. You're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry, jumping back and forth between platforms. So I was just saying, congratulations to everybody. You guys all did an amazing job tonight. We're going to award third place to Team 4. We really thought your advocacy and marketing strategy was really strong. Incorporating campus engagement, RA training, Greek Week, all those things were just like really strong on the platform, but we felt that there just wasn't enough of a presentation as far as what we could implement immediately and take that back to our leadership, as if this was our plan to move forward. But definitely a good job to your whole team. Congratulations to the team members who weren't here as well.
All right, and in second place is Team 3. So Green Dragons, thank you guys. The amount of work you guys put in to try to gather data, to contact vendors, you went above and beyond. I mean, obviously, to come up with a full composting program in a week is pretty much impossible. And honestly, you got, I think, as close as you could to making it a real feasible program. But in the end, as far as why you guys didn't win, is because from a feasibility standpoint, that is gonna be a tougher program to implement. I think when I jumped over, I heard about pests and raccoons, and those type of conversations do need to be had before we discuss all that. We love the app integration with the composting, but congratulations, great presentation, team number 3 in second place. And Tony for the drum roll, or if D wants to take it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the winning team is Team 2. We were really impressed with your just thorough understanding of the problem we were trying to solve. We felt that your plan was just the most feasible, something that we could easily onboard quickly, get our leadership involved with, and I think that they'll be excited to jump onto a plan like that. We were really impressed with your teamwork. I think I personally really just felt that you guys had the most fun with things. So great job to you guys. We also really like the app. I think it was great that you guys actually went ahead and built that out in a weekend. We've done more things. It's time consuming, so we understand the amount of work that goes into that. But yeah, great job to you guys. Great job to all the teams. I think, we were definitely blown away with all the presentations tonight. I don't think we really expected the quality that we got from anybody, but yeah, great job, everyone.
Can we all turn our cameras on and give everybody a round of applause? Sorry, Shivani, if you were just talking.
Yes, I was just about to say that, you guys. Give everybody a round of applause because that was seriously amazing. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you, everyone, once again. This was literally such a cool event with such creative teams. Participants, please look out for a follow-up email and with a link to a feedback survey. Also, just a reminder, this case competition is actually just one piece of our year-long process of creating an impactful climate and sustainability-related agenda for Drexel. So definitely with that link that they sent out earlier, keep an eye out for more opportunities like this throughout the year, you guys. We put out a link that has more information about Climate Year in the chat, so definitely check it out. Happy Climate Year, guys. Hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. If you see me on campus, I look like this. Say hi.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.